Hello, everyone, and welcome to Raising Vibrations. This is Simon, and today I'm truly excited to be releasing the first episode of a series that I have created. And I'm truly, like I said, I'm truly inspired to actually be presenting this to you and to be digesting this information in a way that I feel is not only in alignment with what my soul's desire is, but also my capacity to express what is actually going on within my consciousness and what I'm exploring. And so let me share with you a little bit about what's actually occurring here. So as you've noticed within the most recent astrological alignments, Pluto is moving through Capricorn, and very simply that means that we're creating an entirely new biosphere. We're creating an entirely new representation of how we understand ourselves. And with Neptune squaring Saturn at this point in time and Saturn moving through Sag, there's this invitation to bring to the table a mass amount of knowledge that has been hidden from us and that we have not really been playing the game on Earth in fairness with other people's agendas. And this obviously manifesting in deep disempowerment for the human race and for us individually. So today I'm going to be revealing to you the first episode of a series that I've created with the deepest intention to not only level the playing field in terms of what this is, what this game is about, in terms of this world that we're existing within, but to then also give us this capacity to not only bring to the table the fullest potential of what we can actually represent within ourselves, because I'm only starting to just crank up the energy vibration that is coming through me at this stage, but to also then allow us to, as I said before, bring to the table our fullest expression, your fullest expression, your ability to rock the world in a way that stops the feeling of disempowerment, that destroys the feeling of disassociation, and really, truly gives us the tools necessary to navigate our way through this time-space continuum in ways that is literally finding expansion. So today's episode is Finding Expansion. And I'm going to try to direct this in a way that really drives home the first segment in this series. Okay, so I've described it as finding expansion. Before we can even begin to understand our relationship to the cosmos, to even begin to understand what it means to be a galactic being, before it even gets to a point where we can start processing / integrating that you are the universe, we first need to understand what it is that we're actually looking for. What is that feeling like? What is it in reality? Who are we? Okay? So when we find expansion, we find ourselves. So today I'm highly excited to be opening this up to us and to be sharing with us the first I don't know how to describe it really, to be honest. I've really done a great job in giving us a lot of words over here, but this is it. This is the experience of our whole entire journey on Earth. And it really, truly comes down to this. Now, this is not my actual drawing itself. I would probably have taken a little bit more Virgo-ness to the situation, but that's me. Needless to say, this picture is fantastic because it truly captivates what I consider to be the multiple ways that we can understand ourselves, not only in terms of life, but the multidimensional self that we are experiencing. Okay? So what I want to do is I want to kind of amplify the top over here and say some thoughts on the progression of the solar point through cycles of lifetimes. Okay? Now, before we get into what's being described over here, I would like to ask for this. If you had to look at nature, right? Let's say, for instance, nature defined through the lens of the trees, as an example. In fact, the trees would probably be the best way to observe our connectedness with nature. We can observe that there is a very interesting structure to the way that the tree morphs itself in this reality, in this dimension, and the way that we as human beings grow. Okay? And I think that that's the first word that I really want to work with. Grow. Growing. Expansion. Okay? Ascension. These words are part of the framework that we need to understand, digest, and really intuitively connect to on the first step to understanding the process of galactic beingness. Okay? Not, I'm just a citizen of the country I reside in. I'm not a citizen, or I'm not a participant in the community that I exist within, but I am an aspect and dimension of the universe experiencing itself as the totality of it. And when we expand ourselves to this point, we truly find awesomeness. So let's break the limitation of definition, and let's expand our consciousness and recognize that we ourselves have got very interesting connections between the tree, nature, this dimension, and our path, our spiritual path. And that is growth. That is ascension. So if you look at the tree, for instance, you'll notice that the ground is the place that finds itself very firmly attached to. Okay? Now, underneath the ground exists the roots. Now, the roots, from an astrological perspective, correlates to Cancer. Okay? The roots being where you grew up with, what you grew up with, who was important and influential in your life, what defines the way that you respond to reality. I would consider this to be the psychological conditioning pattern that you have assimilated into your life relative to what you've been exposed to. The roots that belong to somebody that lives in Australia in relationship to somebody that's grew up in New York, for example, are going to be different, because the reality in which we're experiencing ourselves through are vastly different, the ground we are standing on. So we've got to recognize that there is this ground base in which we all stand upon, and this keeps us firmly rooted. So our spiritual story is about being firmly rooted on the ground so that we can then grow. Okay? Because every single day when we are growing, we need something firm to keep us grounded on. And this is why you'll notice that a lot of spiritual teachings will correlate to the word groundedness. And some of what I'm sharing with you guys today is not something that's new. I'm trying to be very discerning around not being too obvious, but this is intended for everybody to participate through. So if this is something you already know, you can tune out, or just to putting it out there in the sense that I'm not trying to say in some way, shape, or form that what I'm revealing today is, completely new. It's just that we've got to really look at the blueprints of our dimension to understand what it is that we're actually accessing here. So, tree, ground, roots, stability. If you look at the earth, for instance, most of us live on land. Earth is the growing ground for you and me spiritually. So when we incarnate onto this body, onto this plane, the earth represents the ground in which we are firmly anchored to. We can see this simply by the toroidal field that creates gravity. Okay? So we grow up in our lives. And why would we grow upwards? Because ascension, or the acceleration of our energy, is to move into higher states of awareness. So if you ever notice the transition from the ice cube to the evaporated water, the density of the molecules changes based on the heat that gets exposed to it. So for instance, if you had to take an ice cube and place it on the table, and then you had to take another ice cube and place it on the table, but apply a lighter to it and to create burning, the ice cube would melt faster. So what we are understanding here is that air, or ascension, or fire, as it were, expansion, rising, is the molecule that allows us to transmute ourselves. So higher awareness is the expression of us becoming lighter through being sparked, through being arousal. Okay? Now, unfortunately, the capacity of the human condition at this point in time, through the perversion of the sexual energy, has defined arousal to be just a sexual interaction. Whereas arousal should be something that when you're doing something and all of a sudden you feel yourself like really, really connected to something, like, wow, this is exciting, this is joyful. That's your heart saying, go this way. That's your higher self saying, go this way. Because when you're operating from the space of the heart, which is the point in which the toroidal field attracts, you'll notice that it's the magnetism of your heart that allows you to experience what is necessary for your soul to grow. And the way that you experience that is through arousal. And the way that you grow is through ascension. And the ascension is relationship to the excitement or the spark that's inside of yourself. There's an essential desire to rise. So on a more metaphysical level, the rising is the ascension process, climbing up the ladder. The more physical aspect is the density of the emotional body, or the lower parts of the chakra, or the groundedness of ourselves, and the denser dark light rising into light. That's why we have the battle between good and evil. Through religious conditioning, this was true. I mean, this information was given to us. Unfortunately, it's been misdirected through interpretations incorrectly. And so then what had happened is that we go the battle between heaven and hell. Whereas when we're in battle between heaven and hell, firstly, we are in duality. And duality is darkness, because we are not merging the higher and lower selves together. So finding expansion is by realizing that we are here to grow, and that what we are growing out of is darkness, and how we are growing out of darkness is by pure illumination, which is why we have to go through experiences to see. Once we see, we are illuminated. That's a great example, again, when you are like maybe 8 years old or 7 years old, and your dad puts you on his shoulders so that you can see above the rest of the people. You're rising. So what we are dealing with here in terms of this incarnation, when we are finding expansion, what we are finding is our innate seed for growth, our innate seed for spiral dynamics, and at least ascension dynamics. So if you look at life, you see the stairs, you see the spiral thread, and you see the DNA structure. So as one, spiral thread of a screw, 7 cycles along an inclined plane, 7 chakras. And then you have the 9 dimensions. Remember, there's 9 dimensions. There's the top dimension that keeps it flowing, and then there's the bottom dimension that keeps it in relationship. So you have gravity, which keeps us grounded, and then you have a Neptune, which defies gravity by ascension, okay, by ascending beyond time and space, which is just in space. In that sense, the time will just be a mental illusion. So spiral thread of a screw, 7 cycles along an inclined plane. And so we're spiraling up. And we begin at the bottom by incarnating into the bottom. And so a baby represents the right at the bottom, because it can only grow. We grow. When we're a baby, we're youthful. We forgot the incarnation story. That's what we've come to learn. So as we incarnate into this physical plane, we forget why we came here. And then as we go through life, we experience surrender to situations and circumstances that reveal to us deeper meaning. And in that deeper meaning, we then find God, which is our story. But we don't recognize that story because we have so much feelings of abandonment, because why would we be sent to such a place of absolute destruction? So that's why we've got to ascend out of that process, out of the darkness into the light. That's why a seed will grow, will be planted in the earth, and then it has to break through the earth first and then ascend. And that breaking through is breaking through the psychological debris that we carry from past lives. That is why the first step to spiritual activation is realizing your karma. Healing through it, using astrology. Once you transcend it, then it becomes your story. Uranus, Saturn. Chiron is the process through that. So, succession of 7 steps, section cut out along a line parallel to axis of a screw. Look at the time and space. When you climb up a stairs, you're moving from one point in space to another. And as you're moving it, you're moving dimensions, and those dimensions correlate to the different times in your life. Different dimensions, time and space. Ascent of 7 spiritual heavens, steps or heaven, Jacob's ladder. Each turn of the spiritual spiral / rug of the ladder is a complete cycle of experience or of life. The cycle is an oscillation. So when you're climbing the ladder and you're raising your consciousness, you are going through spirals that are circumstances and situations in your life, which I'll get into the next episode. And so what we're dealing with here is the spine. The spine is the representation of the screw. The spine is the representation of the ladder. So as we ascend into these higher states of consciousness, as we are looking for heaven, and heaven is the mid-heaven, which is the head, the five senses. We are transcending the five senses. So instead of us looking at life through our ability to ears, nose, throat, sense, just to navigate in this physical sense, we also need to access and develop and hone in our capacity to realize our inner ear and our inner eye, those two extra senses. So are you seeing, not you're seeing, not sensing? Okay? The inner eye at least. And then you transcendence into the Neptunian realm, or the crown chakra, and that's when you access higher awareness. And that in itself is incredibly intense, you know what I'm saying? So this is not a process where you just go, okay, I'm going to spiritually ascend, go. No, this is a very gradual process of determination. That's why Capricorn correlates to self-determination. That's why Pluto through Capricorn is self-mastery. That's why I'm doing this. Showing you guys what the story is about. That when you are challenged with circumstances and situations in your life, your first immediate response to the situation is, how do I grow? You do that, you're already halfway there. Let's move along. So this is the representation of Jacob's ladder through the different dimensions of time and space. And this comes from the Kabbalah, the tree of life, as it were. So as you notice over here, the denser realms, earth, negative and positive. So this is duality. This is where the masculine and the feminine exist. And your job is to go through the entire process of healing your inner child, healing your inner sense of karma that you carry with you, accepting it, going through the process, and then as you go through the process, allowing you to teach you what your story is. So expansion is your multidimensional self. Expansion is the galactic self, but the only way to get to the galactic self is by going to the stars, going to the light. This is why if you look at chemtrails at this point in time and all the weather modifications that are occurring at this stage and climate change, all it is just a distraction to say, hey, by the way, forget your natural way. Don't look at it. Don't pay attention to the sun. Don't pay attention to the stars. Don't be reminded of where you come from. Why? Because when you're in that space, you're in darkness. And when you're in darkness, you're in duality. And when you're in duality, you're in conflict. So who are you in conflict with? Yourself. So your job is to find expansion through merging the higher dimensional states of your beingness in alignment with your darkness. And when you create that, you create the holistic perspective of the yin and yang. This is the toroidal field. And so the bottom here is where the seed, this is how you come straight in, hit it right there. Now you're on earth, and you grow up the spine, and you ascend. And eventually you hit pure illumination. And once you've hit pure illumination, then you start going up and down that spine. You climb up it, and you say, wow, I've got to the space of pure illumination. And then you come back down again, you reincarnate back, or you incarnate back into the earth plane, and you grow something new again. We do this naturally. This is not something that's random. You know this, guys. When you start a new project, you start right at the bottom, and you grow it. We do this with our plants. We do this with our trees. We plant a tree and we nurture it. It's not like we're absent of this process. We've just forgotten to look inside of ourselves for growing ourselves. Now, what we can do in the external world, and this is the thing that's going to make this all just amazingly awesome. How about starting to look at your life in this way? Everything you do inside of yourself is a reflection outwardly. So if you're wanting to grow, then grow outwardly as well. As an example, if I want to heal my capacity to share knowledge in a way where I feel included, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to manifest that outwardly, as in a YouTube channel. I'm going to share my knowledge and I'm going to put it in a way where I say, hey guys, thanks for your time, and this is what I do. And now if I do it really, really well and I take personal responsibility for it and honor your time, most likely a lot of people are going to come back and say, hey, you're doing a great job, man. Thanks so much for this information. I dig it. It makes me feel like there's a sense of purpose. Now, of course, the reason why I'm doing that is not primarily so that I can have that come back at me, but more along the lines that I can feel that I actually, within myself, have healed that process. So if you're wanting to develop patience, do an external project in the outside world that requires patience. Does that make sense? When you do that, you'll find expansion. Because now you're expanding your inner cosmos. Now you're realizing that everything that comes within inside can be manifested existentially. And when you manifest it existentially, it reflects back to your healing modality. And that's how you climb the ladder. So you're growing consistently. And every project you take on is a spiritual journey. Every project you take on is a spiritual path. Every project you take on is your ability to go up the spine. So let's move to number 5, the path of the planetary body around the sun. What is the sun? The sun is a transformer. Nothing else can exist other than, unless the sun is giving it power. In other words, you are the sun, which means that you've been psychologically programmed to give false impressions to things that have absolutely no power by giving it your attention. So as an example, chemtrail, perfect or flat earth theory. We all need to evolve through this understanding. We all need to evolve through the process of the 13th sign astrology. We all need to evolve through different aspects of reality that have been completely hidden from us and now come to realization of what it's about. The point here is that we are the power generators. You give power to something, it reflects back to you that you've given it power. So you can easily, by right now, just stop this video from existing in your reality by switching off the screen. Try it out. Like, just switch off the screen, just put the phone down and walk away. And you'll notice how your attention keeps going at it, and you'll keep on thinking about it. And you'll think about it, and then eventually you'll come back and you'll watch it again. Notice how you gave power to stuff. The sun is you. You are it. It's illumination. You give illumination to things, it will tell you that you're giving illumination to it. So be careful of how powerful you are, and be careful of the manipulation that's been played on you through psychological inception, which we'll get into in episode 3. About how much nonsense we pay attention to that distracts us from our real truth. The path of the planetary body, which is ourselves, the astrology, ascension. Uncoil to the straight line of angelic reality and the laws of the outside time, the philosopher's stone of alchemy. This is the Kundalini within our side of ourselves, the dense time, material, complex time files. This is all at the bottom here. And so as you notice that time becomes less and less as we go up this process. So you're learning how to understand your soul's growth through recognizing the timelessness that is inherent within you. So what you're sitting here at this point in time is you're unlocking the energy vibration that goes up and down your spine by accessing your Uranian field. So Uranus tells you this. Uranus shows you how to awaken this process. What you're experiencing right now is the electrical impulses of me feeling inspired by this, anchoring it into the physical and then releasing it, seeing what comes back at me. And it's really, really interesting because I haven't been able to practice this completely yet. So sometimes my spine really hurts because I can feel the electrical body not clearing out or going through, but me not clearing out a lot of that Kundalini energy stuff. I've still got some stuff to work with. But you understand that I'm giving this so that you can see what you're dealing with, because everybody's running around going, what is my purpose? And I'm saying, stop telling or asking the world what it is, but find it within inside of yourself. And the way that you do that is by going through the steps of your personal growth. That is your story. All sense of direction, no matter how curved or how relative, believes itself to be traveling in a straight line. The power of the tightly coiled spring, i.e. the energy that is locked in matter. You are potential energy. You are the potential. You are locking yourself by listening to the outside worlds and definitions and not realizing what your true power is. So let's unlock ourselves. Let's emancipate ourselves from the dense matter that has been covered up, and recognize that every single day when you wake up, you pay attention to the sun because it reminds you of your infinite power. You pay attention to the stars, you remind yourself where you come from, and you act from that space. And then you grow. And then you share. Such energy either releases upwards, ascending currents of devotion, or precipitates downwards, descending currents of revelation. So it's either in a downward vortex of my life is terrible, or it's an upward spiral of my life is great. Let's just do that over there. Let's move to the next thing. Just a couple of things here quickly, guys. There's the star. There's the source of where you're incarnated from. That's the pineal gland. You're birthing and you're nurturing your dreams and ideas and aspirations. You're bringing it through your higher dimensional states into the body, through the chakras, and down into the coil of the body, into the earth as a generator. You coil it in. And so that picture over there is the maze of expression there. And this over here is the cycle. You incarnate your star system, your story into the physical through the body. This is your life. And that becomes your journey. You awaken to the higher cosmos. You awaken to your higher self. You awaken to the realization of what and who you are. The nervous system holds the key to the body's incredible potential to heal itself, the spine. Notice the interesting difference, the center point, the spine, masculine, feminine, or the snake, kundalini. The roots that keep us centered, this is the body. The body is the tree. The body is the roots. The body is the thing that keeps you grounded. Try and jump as high as you can. You'll notice you always come back down. It's the body that keeps you physically here. But when you are in the space of a higher illumination, there is no time. Because I'm sharing this with you right now. Where am I living? How am I physically able to get to anybody in the States or in Australia or in UK is instantly as this timelessness of this video. So I'm recording it right now and sharing this with you right now. And you're experiencing it in real time as if you're actually with me right now. So my body keeps me grounded in terms of where I am karmically, and my consciousness allows me to expand the higher dimensions and share it. And I integrate it into my body, and that changes the nervous system. The nervous system is the way to heal yourself because it's all about the spine. Ascension. Fantastic, everybody. Thank you very much for allowing me to share this with you. I hope you enjoyed the first episode of The Cosmic Creator. Today we were finding expansion, and expansion exists in what I've shared with you today. So in the next video, we'll be dealing with the phi ratio, and we'll be anchoring all the way to the bottom, and we'll be climbing up the ladder, going up each episode to the next dimension, to the next dimension, to the next dimension, until eventually we have reached cosmic illumination, the final episode. Thanks, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. Hit the like and subscribe button. You can always support the work that I do by booking a reading or an MP4, attending one of my workshops that I create. And if you can't do that, that's okay. Send me some love through emails if you wish. Comments on the descriptions below. Other than that, guys, have a fantastic day and take care. Bye-bye.